Anxiety is not something to fear. It's a beautiful emotion and signal to befriend. We've been taught that we need to fix, fight, get rid of our anxiety. But that just keeps it stuck and repressed in our bodies. So if we really want to be able to work with our anxiety, we really need to befriend it. Welcome to Glow Within. My name is Katie Connolly. I'm a clinical counselor, mom to two, craniosacral and somatic therapist, and registered children's yoga school founder. So in our society, you might have heard of befriending your anxiety, but it's a little confusing as to how that might actually work, because we still are in a society that tells us to override it, to not listen to it, to fix it, to get rid of it, right? We're given medication, all of these tools. So it becomes a little confusing as to how we actually befriend it. How do we work with this powerful signal that's really just begging us to listen? And even more importantly, how do we support our children so that they can form a healthy relationship with their anxiety? So instead of trying to dismiss it or override it, this is where that compassion and curiosity piece comes in, and the somatic work really comes in. So in my work, if we notice anxiety, which is a completely normal nervous system and emotional response, it's a sign that there's something that we need to listen to, that something in our internal or external environment is not quite aligned or healthy for us. So that could be something like maybe the environment that we're in is too stimulating for us. Maybe it's just because of our capacity, maybe it's because of our sensory processing needs, maybe it's something internally that is not agreeing with us. It can also be that we've been doing a million things, kind of like having lots of tabs open on your computer. And so there are those chronic kind of micro stressors that have built up to really diminish our capacity, right? So if you think about all of the tabs being open, for example, on your browser, it probably doesn't anymore, but you'll probably relate to me. You remember how it used to run more slowly, right? Well, it's the same with us. We're no different. Well, we are. We're a little more special than a computer. But anyways, so the anxiety is not an enemy. Anxiety is just information. So if we kind of look at it just as, okay, this is a signal. What do we do with the signal? We listen to it. We look at it. We explore it. We find the root causes, right? And this is where it becomes tricky, because our mind likes to dive in and completely understand and make logical sense of things. But when we're in a state of anxiety, we're leaning to a sympathetic, and that's the activated or excited state when we lean to that fight, flight, and freeze response. So when we're in that space, it becomes very difficult to access our whole brain, right? We're in a more of a reptilian response, working with our instinct or our survival needs. What we can do is start to move through the emotions and what's showing up. So leaning into those nervous system responses, so that fight, fight. And by running or maybe we need to scream into a pillow, by honoring those natural responses, then we can help our body find and downregulate and find more of a parasympathetic space. So that rest, digest, connect space, where we're then able to access our whole brain. And when we can do that, we might be able to start to notice where this anxiety sits in our body. Do you feel it as a tightness in your chest? Does it feel like everything is just so tight in your stomach? Are there butterflies in your stomach? Do you feel foggy in your head? Do you feel a tension in your jaw, in your neck and shoulders? So these are all common experiences. There's a myriad of others, and of course we're all unique. But being able to sort of track where this sits and how we experience it for ourselves, we become acquainted with it. This is the first step to befriending it. And so when we're able to understand how these signals show up physiologically in our body, we can be proactive with it. We can stop when we notice one of these signs and think, okay, I'm noticing my friend anxiety. I can sense it in this way. What in my internal or external environment doesn't feel aligned? How can I work with this? Right? We may still need to lean into one of those fight or flight responses just to help discharge or release the energy, but we can get ahead of it rather than the anxiety continuously building up more and more and more until we hit that burnout or a freeze state where our system shuts down because it's just been too much for too long. So with children, we can also teach them about window of tolerance, which I've talked about a fair bit. We can teach them to understand what do these sort of physiological sensations feel like in our body or in their bodies before they get to that space of being completely overwhelmed. And we can teach them as parents by leading by example. So, for example, I might say to my children, I'm feeling a little anxious right now. I'm just going to go lay down and breathe, and I'm going to take care of myself. That is really key. So there's so many lessons in that. One, we're teaching them that we can take care of ourselves so that they don't feel the need to, because they are picking up on our energy. And as caring beings, especially if they're sensitive or neurodiverse, they will go into either overwhelm or trying to fix, which is more of that fawn response. And we don't want them to do that. We want to take the onus off of them and show that we can take care of ourselves. Secondly, it's leading by example. So they see, oh, this is what mommy or daddy does when they're feeling overwhelmed or when they're feeling the butterflies in their tummy. Maybe I should do that. For our PDAers, telling them to do something, particularly if they're heightened, is going to land flat or become a fight. So by us leading and setting the example of what we do, our children tend to become curious, right? And mimicry is one of the fastest and first ways that we learn. My eldest in particular, she did this from the age of 1. And I've shared that example, I think, a few times. But they start early. So it's never too young to start. And talking about our experiences really helps our children it helps them to learn from a space of not being told what to do, but that empathy and those mirror neurons of, okay, this is a shared experience. This is how we work through it, right? So it's a very, very, very powerful tool. So anxiety isn't a flaw in the system. And when we teach our children that this is a perfectly normal, perfectly valid response, it normalizes, it validates it. That in itself helps to reduce the overwhelm. And then, of course, when we can support them with healthy ways to honor the experience, we prevent it escalating and we can help them return to a parasympathetic or a more regulated state. And I don't care for that term, but a state in which they feel cohesive and they're at their optimal. And when they're able to do that, we see less symptomology, we see better focus, digestion, less sensitivities, more enjoyment of learning and engaging with others. So if you want to learn some more tools to help your children or yourself even deepen your awareness of your body, your emotions, and the resulting thoughts and behaviors, leave a comment, Nourish, and I'll send you my free 4-day guide.